Go ahead and share. Recordings in progress. Welcome everyone. We hope that you enjoyed today's presentation. We ask that you go ahead and share with us where you're calling in from while we wait for folks to log in for about a minute. We'd love to see where you're calling from, if you can. Awesome. Hi, Katie. It's so great to see you. We see the Arkansas Period Poverty Project. That's awesome. And Zeal is in Texas. We have our period team. I see Texas represented a lot right now. Hello, San Antonio. Welcome. Awesome. Hi, Ziva. It's so great to see you. Love that we're calling in from Washington. Our neighbors up there as well. Yes, chapter members. I love seeing period at UCF. Oh, this is great. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing. Thank you, Hillary. We're glad you're here for representing that as well. Right. Sweet. Well, while folks come in, we'll go ahead and begin with introductions if y'all are okay with that. Welcome again. My name is Damaris Pereda and my pronouns are she, her, and I'm the National Programs Director at Period. Period is a global nonprofit advocacy menstrual equity organization that exists to fight period poverty and stigma through service, education, and advocacy. I am here with our partners today and one of our incredible Master of Public Health interns, Noelle McPhail, who will also be presenting today. So Noelle, please go ahead and introduce yourself before we get started.
Yes, thank you, Dama. My name is Noelle. My pronouns are also she, her, and I'm a Master of Public Health student at the University of Southern California studying global health. I am thrilled to be interning at Period and working on awesome educational materials like what we're about to see. So back to you, Dama.
Awesome. So we are so excited to partner as well with two incredible organizations like we shared. And so without further ado, I would love to introduce Madeline Shaw from ISLE and Zeal Desai from Green Periods. Can you please introduce yourselves and share a bit about what this project means to you?
Thank you so much, Donna. It's my absolute honor to be here today. My name is Madeline Shaw. I use she, her pronouns. I'm greeting you from the unceded traditional territory of the Coast Salish people, also known as Vancouver. And I am the co-founder and director of partnership and impact with ISLE. ISLE was for many years known as Lunapads, and it's one of the first companies in the world to professionalize reusable menstrual products. We started in 1993, and also to champion sustainable menstrual equity. So this project has been such an incredible experience, a deep expression of our values that we share so deeply with Period and with Green Periods. And I'm just super proud of this work, and thank you so much for joining us. Zeal.
Hi, everyone. Thank you. It's an absolute pleasure to be here and see people from so many different places of the world. I am Zeal Desai. I'm the co-founder of greenperiods.org. We're based out of Austin, Texas, but we're a global organization creating awareness on sustainable menstruation. So why did we start Green Periods? I've been using the same reusable menstrual product for the last 10 years without throwing away a penny's worth. And as you can imagine, this has transformed my relationship with periods. And I'm here to share about the benefits of sustainable menstruation for people and the planet using different educational tools. But most currently, we're focusing on two today: the menstrual footprint calculator, which quantifies the individual economic and ecological impact of menstruation. And of course, this presentation, collaborating with pioneers like Period Movement and Period ISLE with their expertise in menstrual equity and reusable products, has enabled us to take a step closer towards our goal of educating 2 billion people. Thank you for being here. Let's do this.
Awesome. Thank you so much for those incredible introductions. So like we've all shared, today we're here because Period has partnered with ISLE and Green Periods to offer this incredible toolkit. Now, this toolkit will include a copy of today's presentation, a link to a Planet Positive Period quiz that can help you identify what shade of green you are, and an extensive appendix resources that include frequently asked questions about reusables, questions to consider when choosing reusables, a brief research guide on a personal health and menstrual products, and an incredible infographic highlighting details from this presentation. Now, all of these resources will be available on all of our websites, and they will be sent to everyone who registered for today's event. And we hope that these resources are something that you could share, that you can learn from, and that you can share with your community so that we can all have more planet positive periods. So without further ado, we'll go ahead and get started. We'll review today's agenda and jump right in. So welcome again for those of you who have joined us. For today, what we're going to planning on doing today, we have our welcome and introductions, which we've gone through, and then we'll start off with an opening question. We'll review the purpose and objectives, review some key terms, and then of course, we'll have the presentation with our discussions, and then of course, we'll talk about closing and calls to action, and we'll end with an opportunity for you to take the Planet Positive Period quiz if you're interested. So we will start off. We'd love to hear in the chat if you're interested in sharing, if there are any period products that you've heard of and are maybe curious to learn more about. So if there's anything that you have heard of and haven't really considered, I see washable tampons. Thank you, Lisa. If there's anything that you've kind of curious to learn more about, I'd love to hear your thoughts. It's okay. Sweet, thank you. Awesome. Great, I see menstrual cups, I see reusable tampon applicators, discs, great. There's definitely several. Let's see, what else did I miss any? Awesome, period underwear. Thank you. So for those of you that have shared, I mean, we're gonna cover through some of these today and you'll probably learn a little bit more. Yeah, cloth pads, awesome, thank you. We'll go ahead and jump right in then. I'm excited to see, hopefully you'll learn something today. I'm gonna pass it on to my colleague, Noelle, who will go ahead and start us off.
Thanks, Tama. Yes, so what are we doing here today? What is the goal of this presentation? Today, we are going to learn about the impact of different menstrual products on the planet, the impact of our own menstrual footprint, which we'll define right after this, and see some examples of how people can have planet positive periods. So there are two major terms that we'll be using throughout the presentation and might be new to you, and we're going to define them now. First off, what is a planet positive period? What does sustainable menstruation mean? For us, we say that when people manage their periods in an eco-friendly, budget-friendly, safe, and accessible way in the long term, that's sustainable menstruation. The second term is menstrual footprint, and that means the amount of waste and expense associated with managing a period. So that can be a menstrual footprint for one person who menstruates or for a whole group of people. And I know these terms may be new, so if there are any questions about them, any questions about what we're going to cover today, please send them in the chat and we'll do our best to answer as many as possible. So this is going to be stating the obvious, but a lot of people menstruate around the world, right? Nearly half the world's population menstruates at some point, and on any given day, 800 million people are on their period. 800 million. And a lot of those people are going to be using some kind of period product to manage their period. So we think about those huge numbers and the fact that people menstruate for about 40 years of their life on average, or almost 7 years of periods back to back in a row. That's a lot of people menstruating for a very long time. So the products that we choose to use will have an impact on the planet. And the question becomes, how much? So let's compare the differences. We're going to start part one with disposable menstrual products. Disposable period products, or disposables, just like they sound, they're products that you use once and then you throw them away. These are products that we're used to seeing a lot, we're very familiar with, disposable pads and tampons, the most common examples. So some benefits of these products are that they're widely available, right? Pretty easy to get, and there's no need to clean or maintain them. But as we're going to see, disposables have a high negative environmental impact and a very high lifetime cost. So if people could head to the chat real quick, I would like to know your best guess about how many pounds or kilos of menstrual product waste do you think will be thrown away this year, all over the world? Your best guess for how many pounds or kilos total for the world for everybody this year of tampons, pads, menstrual product waste are going to go in the trash. We're thinking millions, hundreds of millions. Any guesses? Don't be shy. Millions, okay. Thanks, Gabriella. Anybody else? Yes, Dama, it is okay to guess. 500,000, billions probably, 300,000 pounds. Awesome. Hundreds of millions. Okay. So millions of millions, yes. This stat was shocking to me when I first heard it. Green Periods estimates that about 30 billion pounds of disposable menstrual products are going to end up in landfills and oceans just this year. And all of those products cost 50 billion US dollars. So to put that in perspective, 30 billion pounds is about the weight of 62 large cargo ships. Those huge cargo ships, you see 62 of them with just menstrual product waste thrown away in just 1 year. I'm going to pass it off to Zeal to tell you more about the impact of disposables.
Thanks, Noelle. So we just saw a little glimpse of the impact of disposable products, but we're going to take a deeper dive now and talk about the environmental as well as the economic impact of disposables. So environmental impact of disposables include many different facets, but we're going to touch upon high landfill and ocean waste. Obviously, whatever we use for just a couple of hours for disposable products gets thrown away. And where does it all go? It goes away, but that away are either the landfill, your trash can, the ocean. And we're looking at 11,000 disposable pads or tampons for one person over a lifetime use of disposable products that they will be using. And if you multiply that by the 800 million menstruators every day versus the half of the world's population that menstruates at any given point in time, we're looking at a lot of landfill and ocean waste, obviously. So the 11,000 pads and tampons are weighing about 220 pounds. And what are these baby elephants doing here? Well, that's the weight of a newborn baby elephant. So listen to this cute little elephant who is even agreeing, wow, that's a lot of waste. So we should be mindful of this. And we're also looking at billions of disposables that are being flushed down wrongly in toilets, tampons, pads, etc. And they're just clogging drainage systems. And in the UK alone, this is a huge issue. 4 million disposable products are flushed every single day. And now we're going to take a look at the plastic environmental impact of disposables. A lot of products like conventional pads or tampons that we see in the grocery aisles, they're mostly made of plastic, especially with pads, 90%, and tampons, about 6%. We're not even looking at applicators here and the plastic that goes into that. So one pack of period pads can contain 5 supermarket bags worth of plastic, according to research. And not only that, each individual pad or tampon is wrapped in plastic to boot. So why is plastic so bad? Well, it's a very versatile material and it has a lot of amazing uses, but it's a very modern product. So we don't actually know how long it takes to completely break down in a natural environment. So research now shows that about 800 years is the time it will take for plastic to just break down enough where it's going to become microplastics. And these microplastics are forever plastics. They will stay in the environment for years to come. And we're already seeing a lot of harmful effects to the planet, to the animals, to the people because of the microplastics. And behind the plastic usage, there is fossil fuels. So natural gas and oil are the elements that these materials are made up of for menstrual pads and tampons. And producing these raw materials has the biggest negative environmental impact, according to research. And you can read all about the research that we are using for this presentation in our appendices that will be shared with you eventually. So producing the raw materials as well as manufacturing and transporting them are additional factors that also affect the environment, contributing to fossil fuels and climate change. So let's talk a little bit about the economic impact of disposable menstrual products. Why are they so expensive? Well, because we don't just use one product for many years together, but just for a couple of hours. And all these costs add up exponentially. We have done research based on the Green Period's calculator data. For the lifetime cost of a person using only disposable products, they're spending about $3,360 US. So this is 40 years of using menstrual products. And $3,000 can buy you airline tickets to go around the world 3 times, approximately. And you have to keep buying these disposable products month after month after month. And they might seem like a lower price product to begin because of their upfront cost, which a pack of tampons or pads is going to cost you about $7. But all of these costs are actually adding up. Now let's take a look at eco-friendly disposable menstrual products. These are products that are slightly different than the disposable average products that we see on the grocery store aisles. They might be marketed using many different labels like organic, biodegradable, compostable, non-toxic, chlorine-free, plant-based, etc., etc. However, we would like to warn you that there is no clear evidence that these types of products are better for the environment than your other conventional pads and tampons. So when you see these labels being used, always go back to thinking, okay, why are companies leading me to believe that their products or practices are more environmentally friendly than they actually are? And there's a term for this. It is called greenwashing. So this can also happen, and it often tends to happen with a lot of menstrual products that are disposable, but marketed in a very eco-friendly, environmental friendly way. Now, to see why these eco-friendly disposable products are still pretty bad for the environment and also for your wallet and the planet is because they are also wrapped or they're also thrown away in your trash bags. So even though a period product can say compostable, it's still going to be thrown away with your regular trash because we're not doing compost pits in general. And they can't readily decompose in a landfill environment. Not only that, to grow the cotton that is used for making these pads and tampons takes up to 6 gallons or 23 liters of irrigation water. And there's also a myth that organic cotton products are better for the environment than conventional cotton, but that is actually a myth. There's no correlation between organic cotton and lower water consumption. And then to boot, we're also talking very high costs associated with eco-friendly disposable products. These products tend to be the most expensive of any product that is available on the market when you aggregate the lifetime cost of using an organic cotton pad or a tampon, for instance. We're talking $4,420 US just to use for one person to use them over a lifetime. I would like to share a discussion question now. And if you can just put in the chat, if anything that has stood out to you about the impact of disposable or eco-friendly disposable menstrual products, we would love to hear from you. Is there anything that surprised you? Anything that you might not have known before hearing about this? Yeah, the amount of plastic and the weight of the waste, mind-blowing. I know, Katie, and that's the reason why Green Periods was born. So we're just trying to create a little grain of awareness and plant that seed in our minds so that we can understand the huge impact. Mindful of greenwashing, absolutely. Yes, anything that says organic, just think about whether it really is good for the environment. Look at a baby elephant differently. I know, they're so cute. Now let's move on to why Green Periods was born. I would just like to give you a little context before playing this video. As an advocate for sustainability and health, I believe in the power of small daily actions that we can all take to create a big impact on the earth, on our bodies, on our planet, wallet, and people. So one day I started thinking about the transformation that using one single reusable product had created during the last 10 years by using for my personal use. And I realized how my menstruation was rash-free, cash-free, and trash-free, and I wanted to share that with the world. So when I did the math, I was astounded by the numbers that reusables are way cheaper, they're way less wasteful than disposables. And this was a huge impact that I was trying to bring forward. So we decided to build a menstrual footprint calculator with my co-founder to create awareness about sustainable menstruation. And now let's take a look at the Green Periods video. We can't hear the sound. Thank you.
Sorry about that. Let's see. Does that work now?
Yes.
Sweet. Thank you.
Thanks for sharing that. So just to give you a little context about the Green Periods calculator, if we can also move to the next slide, that would be great. So we're trying to quantify the economic and ecological impact of everyone that is out there who would be interested in going and taking this quiz. It takes you less than 5 minutes to go through, and it will show you the lifetime waste and cost, and also the so far waste and cost. And then we have a bar graph that is like my favorite part of the calculator that shows you the amount of savings you can make while switching to reusable products if you were to save that amount and invest it into a 5% savings account. So we really recommend you go and check that out and share this widely with your friends and family. Now in part 2, we will discuss all about better options for planet positive periods. Thank you, and I will move it forward to Madeline.
Thank you so much, Seal. I'm so excited. For folks just joining, my name is Madeline, and I've been using reusable period products for 30 years. super proud of that. As a bit of context, in the early 1990s, I was wanted to be a fashion designer. So I was all about making things and sewing things. I was also getting rashes and infections pretty much every month from using disposable pads and tampons. And so a light bulb kind of went on for me that I wanted to create reusable options. So I didn't need to use these disposable products. I was an environmentalist, and but what really shifted for me was just how I felt about my period. Like, yes, you know, reusable products solved a problem for me. They were more sustainable, they were more comfortable, they were all those things, but really it was a sort of a deeper attitude. So we're going to look at a lot of practical things, but I also want you to bear in mind that, you know, when we think about reusable products, especially for folks who are maybe feeling a little bit of resistance, that it is almost like a mindset. So, okay, so high level, what is great about reusable period products? I brought another example that'll be familiar to pretty much all of you. So reusable water bottles, right? We carry these with us every single day because we don't want to buy single-use, throwaway little plastic bottles of water. We know it's wasteful. We know, you know, it's not good for us. There's a lot of plastic in there. And so I basically invite you to think about reusable products the way that we think about, or shopping bags is another thing that I love that I carry with me everywhere I go. These are simple, everyday, personal, reusable supplies that we can make to just make the world a better, greener place. So reusables are the same idea, but instead of, you know, with disposables, you're using them once, you're throwing them away. With reusables, yeah, you got to wash them. You got to take care of them. They belong to you. They are your friends. So the benefits, very high level, and I'm going to go deeper in a sec. Here we go. Great, thanks. They last for a really long time. Okay, so what's the impact of them lasting for a really long time? For starters, you save a ton of money. So the average lifetime cost of reusables is about $324 US, which I will add, you're not going to spend all at once. This is over a lifetime span of 40 years. But that's still 30 times less than the cost of reusables, so super significant. And even bigger, I would say, is the reduced waste. I mean, look at this, you know, in 40 years using reusables, you're going to generate less than 1 pound of waste, or 5,000 times less than you would with disposable pads and tampons. So it's really significant. Okay, so let's talk about some common period products. So yes, to the point of the person who suggested reusable tampons, yes, they're out there. There is incredible innovation that's taking place in the reusable menstrual care space right now. For the purposes of this presentation, we decided to stick with the most commonly available and most thoroughly tested types of reusable menstrual products. So I'm going to start off talking a little bit about reusable cloth pads. So these are soft, they're comfortable. The biggest difference between these and a disposable product, I would say, is just comfort. Well, and they're prettier. They're more breathable. And in fact, this particular pad can hold 8 tampons worth of Menzies. So for folks out there going, oh, I don't know if these would work, like, trust me, reusable menstrual products work, pads work. All of these products do. So this particular pad is made out of a combination of cotton and microfiber. So there, you can't see the microfiber, it's inside, it's super absorbent. Most washable menstrual pads have some form of combination of an exterior fabric that touches your skin. And in this case, aisle being aisle, we've gone with a natural fiber fabric because that's something that's important to us, and a more absorbent inner fabric. You wear them like disposable pads and liners, but the difference being with a disposable product, you're going to kind of peel off that layer of plastic on the back and literally glue them into the gusset of your underwear. Whereas with our products, they're just wrapping around the gusset of your underwear with small snaps. It's super easy to use. It's way simpler. I don't know about you, but I don't like glue in my underwear. And they're available in multiple sizes, so they can replace any, you know, comparable size, whether it's a liner or a full-on overnight pad. We do it all. And one quality cloth pad can replace at least, and this is a super conservative number, 238 disposable pads. Okay, so moving on, reusable menstrual cups and discs. So I've definitely add discs in this category as well because they're made out of the same materials and they do the same thing. They work slightly differently, but they have the same function in that they are providing safe and reliable internal menstrual protection. So with the pads, we're using something outside of our bodies. With the cups and the discs, we are going in, my friends. So this is a replacement to a tampon. You can kind of see here as a comparison for size. The main difference is that tampons are absorbent. That's how they work. So they're absorbing your menses, they're absorbing your natural vaginal moisture, and then they're going in a landfill. Reusable cups are not absorbent. They're made out of medical grade silicone or other safe materials, and they're just catching your menses. That's a really important difference because it means that with tampons in a 12-hour period, you probably have to change them probably 3 or 4 times to be safe. With a menstrual cup, you only need to change it every 12 hours. So major convenience. They're incredibly comfortable because they're not drying you out the way that tampons can. I remember that back in the day of like that feeling on day 3 or 4, taking out a tampon was not a happy experience. So these, all the convenience though of an internal product like a tampon where you're not necessarily as aware of your period. They're great for sports, that type of thing. And for the data friends out there, one menstrual cup can replace over 2,400 disposable pads and tampons. Last but not least, we have a super popular product category, period underwear. So period underwear work like regular underwear in that you're just pulling them on. They're incredibly easy to use. In fact, much easier than a menstrual cup or a cloth pad in that you don't need to kind of fiddle with anything. You're just pulling them on like any other garment, which is great. So what's the difference is that inside the gusset, they have absorbent material. And so this is catching your period inside. They've got extra layers of fabric. And yeah, so you're just putting them on, you're bleeding into them, and then you're changing them and you're washing them. And I cannot say enough good things about these products. There are a lot of different new varieties out there. I would encourage people to look for natural fiber fabrics and ones using fair trade labor to make them. And one quality pair of period underwear can replace, again, conservative figure, at least 81 disposable pads or tampons. Okay, I'm going to pass it back to my friend Zeal for this, but I will rejoin you later.
Thanks, Madeline, for letting us know about the amazing benefits of reusables. And now you might be wondering, well, if they're so amazing, why aren't they more commonly used? What's going on? So one of the points that is very important to note that they're not as widely available yet. They're not marketed enough. They're kind of making a comeback, if you will, into the whole Gen Z environmental movements and all that. But we still don't see a wide variety in retail stores as disposables. And the good news is they're easily available online. But to keep in mind, not everyone in this world has internet access or even the means to afford reusables because their initial upfront costs for just buying one reusable menstrual product can seem a bit high to people who are just used to paying $7 for 50 pads or tampons. So this is not always accessible for people, but the important thing to keep in mind is that the upfront costs might seem higher for reusables, but over a long run, they are extremely low if we just spread out that cost over many years. So the other factor that's also a barrier for reusables could be access to clean water or privacy. And so we'll pass it on to Noelle.
Thanks, Zeal. Yes. So another important factor, why aren't reusables more commonly used, is that period blood is stigmatized. Some communities might see period blood as gross or dirty or other sort of negative connotations. And I think a lot of us are familiar with those commercials that show some sort of blue liquid or blue goo rather than blood, right, for period products. even though we do see blood in a lot of other contexts, right? And we're not grossed out in an action movie. So it's important to think about that how we view or experience our periods or period blood, or think about it in our cultures and in our communities, can really impact our choices of what types of products we want to use and whether or not we'll consider a reusable menstrual product. So as the adorable little blood drop up in the corner there is reminding everyone, period blood is totally natural. And it may seem a little bit maybe icky to wash or think about washing it off or unusual, but it's natural. And when you follow the instructions on your reusable period products, they're super easy to clean. And passing it back to Madeline.
Thank you, Noelle. Yeah, so there is an initial learning curve to, let's be honest. I mean, you're not just kind of throwing away a disposable product and you're going to actually engage with it. You're going to actually touch it and clean it, which means engaging with your menses. And that's something that we have all been very strongly culturally conditioned to sort of fear and to see as gross or weird or bad, or, you know, there's just a lot around it. Like even the language of disposable menstrual products, calling them, you know, hygienic and sanitary and protection and that kind of thing implies kind of a pathologized approach to menstruation, which it doesn't need. It's a perfectly natural function, as Noelle has said. But that said, you know, be gentle with yourself. Don't judge yourself for feeling a little bit freaked out. But that said, some products, like for example, a menstrual cup, you need to really, you know, think about and learn about how to use it. And with all reusable products, you need to really think about and pay attention to cleaning them properly. Personally, I've got to say, when I first did it for the first time, it was one of the most exciting, liberating experiences I've ever had. It was one of those true, like the emperor has no clothes moments of like this thing that I was scared of and I'd been trained and to believe was gross was actually no big deal, and helped me develop a lot of compassion and literacy for what was happening in my body. Okay. Oh, yeah. And maybe you want to throw in the chat one or two reasons why anyone you know who menstruates should consider trying a period product if they are able to do so. Thank you. And I'm going to pass it back to, oh no, I get to do one more thing. I get to do two more things. Okay. So we had a lot of conversation around like what was sustainability? What did it mean to us as a group? And really coming to terms with the fact that health and sustainability are deeply, deeply, deeply connected. And yet for the purposes of the presentation, it's like, in fact, we could do a whole other presentation just on health, but maybe that'll happen next. So what am I trying to say? I'm trying to say that when you as consumers are choosing menstrual products for yourselves, we want you to pay attention. A lot of manufacturers are they're not legally obligated to list their ingredients comprehensively, just so you know. As was the case for me, a lot of users of mainstream disposables are having irritation, rashes, infections, those types of things. And finally, even some reusable products, I don't know if you all have heard of PFAS chemicals that are showing up in period underwear now. You know, even reusable products can have harmful ingredients present. So what we really want you to encourage to do, and we've created an entire guide for you to choose quality reusable menstrual products for yourselves, questions to ask, you know, about how they're made, the fabrics they're made out of, who's made them, you know, what certifications those products or companies may have. So we just want you all to pay attention and understand that these two things are deeply linked. Okay, last but not least, we're going to do a super, super, super fun thing. So what we did is we thought, okay, let's provide some examples of different people with different lifestyles and different needs to see, like, just go, okay, what does it look like to switch from a disposable to a reusable product? And so what this is, these are not real people, just so you know, sort of for privacy reasons, but rather they're composite profiles of people that are developed out of literally the thousands and thousands of customers that we've had at Isle over the years, and looking at different, you know, anyways, it's a composite of their stories, and I hope you enjoy them. So I'm going to pass that over to Zeal now.
Thanks, Madeline. Let's take a look at Cade here. Cade is 16, a junior in high school, grade 11. And he has been using disposable products for a long time. which were organic pads and liners, but they have now switched over to boxer brief style period underwear. And Kate happens to be non-binary identified person who menstruates. So periods have felt a bit awkward and weird, but then they stumbled upon period underwear. And that's probably the best thing that's happened to their periods, because now they think that their periods are very hassle-free. They don't really remind them as much that they're bleeding as pads did. And then boxer style also affirms their non-binary identification. Plus, they appreciate a lot not having to spend thousands of dollars over lifetime use for expensive menstrual products that were organic. On the graphs to your right, you can see a breakdown of the transformation that's happening with the waste and the cost. So it's just staggering. And now I will switch it on to Noelle.
Thank you, Zeal. So our next profile is Zeba. Zeba is 20. She's a college sophomore. She's a period chapter leader. And before, she used disposable pads and liners. Now she has switched to cloth pads during the day and period underwear overnight. And she likes this combination since period underwear overnight are super convenient and super easy. So Zeba loves that cloth pads are super comfortable. They're very absorbent. She doesn't get rashes anymore like she used to with disposable pads. And she doesn't have to worry about buying products over and over and over. So with the graph, we can also see that Zeba's lifetime cost has decreased significantly, and the amount of waste that her period will generate over her life is also way, way lower. So on to Madeline for our last profile.
Okay, so finally, last but not least, we have Julie. Julie is a super, super busy person. She's got a small child. She's working full time. She enjoys yoga. She just has a really, really busy lifestyle. But she wasn't happy with the tampons that she was using, and has switched to a menstrual cup and some reusable liners. So yeah, it was actually a relatively easy switch. And this is something that we see a lot with tampon users going to cups. You know, they're getting the same benefit they wanted before of an internal product that is reliable, that doesn't need to be changed very often. So she was very much used to the idea of, you know, inserting tampons. And so inserting a menstrual cup was not a huge change to make, but boy, does she appreciate the difference of not having to go and change it every 3 or 4 hours. Finally, being sensitive to that this less drying factor is really important to her as well. And yeah, and often she just simply forgets about it, which is not great, but has its benefits too. So yeah, so you can see again, the cost and waste differential is huge. And yeah, I think that's our final profile. Wait, we've got one more slide with a bit of a question for you all in the chat. Just do you think that you or someone you know would benefit from learning more about reusable menstrual products? Because boy, if we got some information for them. Fantastic. So if you want to throw any of that into the chat, I'm going to pass it off to close us out with Zeal. Thank you.
Thanks, Madeline. Before we close out, I would like to see if we can launch a quick poll here, and it will allude to the quiz that we have created based on this particular presentation that you can take at your own time, but we just wanted to give you a little taste of what it might look like. And you can also look at your shade of green, like Dama mentioned in the beginning, and it's a lot of fun. So we really hope that you check it out. Can we get the poll now?
I think unfortunately we're having issues. That's such a shame. Sorry, y'all. Yeah, so I can just add the question in the chat. That's so weird. Sorry about that.
No worries. So let's close out this presentation now that we are much more equipped with hard data and also a lot of qualitative information with the profiles that we just saw. So by now we have already realized that no matter what product we choose, it's going to leave some sort of an impact. It's going to leave an individual as well as a collective impact environmentally, economically. So what we want you to remember as we close this presentation out are a couple of key points. we want you to remember that disposable menstrual products have the highest menstrual footprint, meaning they leave behind the highest waste and they cost the highest out of any menstrual product out there, especially organic or biodegradable products. They have the highest cost. Then when it comes to choosing products, we want you to go beyond the surface of the product and read labels, ingredients if they're listed, because they're not always listed. And we want you to choose quality reusable products to have more planet positive periods. And remember that with this presentation, our goal is not to shame anyone into thinking that, oh my gosh, I'm spending so much money on these disposable products, or I'm leaving behind so much waste. We also want you to be mindful that reusable products may not be for everyone. But the point here is to make an informed choice and be aware of all the options. And remembering that sustainability is not about just a handful of people doing it perfectly, but millions and billions of people doing it imperfectly, or even trying the best that they can. And on that note, you can always start out by combining reusable and disposable products, because even that is going to have a big difference on the environment and even hopefully in your life. And that's a great way to make the transition to more positive, planet positive and sustainable menstruation. With that closing note, I would also like to share with you, if you were to sum up this toolkit for a friend in just one sentence, what would you say? If you can leave that in the chat box, that would be great. Over to you, Dama.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I'd love to have people. I mean, this has been incredible. We are almost done. I mean, and so if you do have questions, we definitely want to allow room for that. Yeah, but we want you to think about this question. If you can sum it up for a friend or somebody else in one sentence, what would you say? Because we want to kind of help resonate with that. And then we'll close out with some calls to action. Thank you, Jen. I see impactful, accessible. Wow, we're doing it in one word. That's incredible. I was thinking a whole sentence. This is great. Thank you. Thank you all. So as a reminder, and I'll share again in a bit, but we are excited that you all will be able to receive a copy of this, and this will be available on our websites as well. So in terms of some calls to action, we invite you to know the facts. You've all just learned this. Some of you may have already known this. So please take the Planet Positive Periods quiz that I see Noelle will put in the chat in a bit to really showcase your confidence about what you've learned in this toolkit. It's actually based on the information on here. And so you are going to get to answer the questions, and then you can get a result of what shade of green you are. And the darker the shade of green, the more knowledgeable you are about sustainable menstruation. So we invite you to take advantage of that, and then talk about it. Share this toolkit with friends, family, public leaders, and decision makers, whether they have periods or not. I saw a comment earlier that they're going to share with their school district, and that's exactly what this is for. And so this will be shared, like I keep saying, next week, but we want you to have all these resources available so that you can share with anyone you'd like, free of cost, of course. So people can just become aware about the impact of menstrual products that we have on the environment. And we also remind you and ask to keep asking questions. We are going to have additional toolkit resources as well on our site, like we've mentioned. This includes FAQs on reusable products, questions to consider when choosing quality reusables, and a research guide on potential health impacts of menstrual products. This, along with an infographic that you can then share that highlights parts of this presentation in 2 pages, as well as additional research that was created by ISLE. We'd love to have you all take a look at that. And then, of course, lastly, we invite you to create change and really continue to advocate for increased access to free and reusable products in public spaces. All right. And yeah, I see Noelle added the PPP quiz. And so you're welcome to do it now. We are going to send all these links after. So please take it now or later, but we would love to see that at any point. And we'd love to have you see your shade of green. And then lastly, too, I want to say that our hope here is that you are able to use this and share this. And then that quiz link, you can also share with your audience if you're able to share this in your community, in your chapter, if you're a chapter member, in your workplace. This is something that we just need to continue to get the word out. And we invite you all to share and present this as well. Unless we have any other questions, I'd love to actually pass it off to Madeline or Zeal or Noel if you want to add up anything before we close out. And I'd love to take some time to answer some questions, but anything you want to add on, Madeline, Zeal or Noel?
Yeah, I would. I would just love to, well, for starters, thank you again to the entire Period and Green Periods team. Like, this has just been an extraordinary project. And I'm not exaggerating when I say I loved every minute of working with all of you. For folks who are dialing in today, so we are at a really key transitional moment in the menstrual equity movement. Like, thanks to the work of obviously Period and the work of other menstrual equity activists, we've come to a place where the idea of providing free disposable pads and tampons in places like schools, universities, colleges has become increasingly visible. People understand that it's the right thing to do. What we need to do now is give people the message that it's the first step. It's not the whole step. It doesn't solve the entire problem. It solves the problem for a few hours. But including reusable, free access to reusable products is the other part of the puzzle. We need a wraparound solution in order to truly solve period poverty in a sustainable way once and for all. So this is what this is for, to educate people, to advocate, and we hope that you'll all just share these tools far and wide. Thank you so much for your attention. Zeal.
Yes, this has been so incredible. I just wanted to point out that this partnership has been one of the most enriching things to have happened to me personally, but also I hope in the world of sustainable menstruation, because I personally haven't come across a toolkit on sustainable menstruation, and I have dedicated, and our organization Green Periods has dedicated a lot of time to finding resources. So that's the reason why we even felt like there was a big need for education surrounding sustainable menstruation. We came across the United Nations reports and life cycle analyses of reusable menstrual products, but without education, you can't really move the needle forward on menstrual equity around sustainability. And you know, menstrual equity's future is sustainable menstruation. We firmly believe that. And like Madeline said, this is just the first step. And we were just this uniting force with Period and ISLE to create this toolkit with a lot of love and dedication to move that needle forward and to bring our complementary viewpoints and make it really rich with statistics and research that will back up most of what we're saying, so that we're not just shooting in the air. So I just wanted to thank you all for being here. Let's keep moving this needle forward. Let's become part of the sustainable menstruation movement as well. And let's keep going ahead with this.
Awesome. Well, as we close out, I see some of you are logging up. I want to share that this appendix resources that'll be included. This is in the presentation, just a quick sneak peek. There will also be a one-page PDF. Like we said here, this is like questions and choosing reusables as well, Appendix B. And then of course, in the presentation, all the statements that are shared, they do have a subscript note so that we do have the references for you to review. If you really want to look into the research, it's available for you. This is about sharing and learning the facts. So thank you all so much. I'll pause really quick just to check if there are any questions. I had seen that Katie had asked one. Seems like it was answered within the chat, but I'd love to ask it here in case folks want to stay on for any last kind of Q&As before the top of the hour. But again, thank you all for being here. But Katie's question, I know we answered in the chat, but I'd love to get a quick discussion of that. Other people might be having it. If somebody uses about 20 disposable pads during one cycle, about how many reusable pads would they need for one cycle? And I saw a plethora of excellent responses in the chat, but I'd love if you all want to chime in here for anybody who didn't catch that.
Yeah, so I would start with at least half a dozen. And then just kind of see from there. And, you know, the reusable pads, as I said earlier, are a lot more absorbent than disposable ones. So even the mini pad, like I said, absorbs up to 8 tampons worth. And even our heaviest pad absorbs up to 14 tampons worth. So there's a pretty significant difference in terms of performance. So yeah, I would start with around half a dozen and see how you go.
Sweet. Thank you. And that reminds me, if you registered, you did receive a discount code for ISLE. So we're so grateful that ISLE was able to be a part of this partnership. And so you do get 20% off by using discount code capital PPP20. It should be in your inbox. And so, yeah, I just want to remind folks that thank you again, IO, for providing that. And that is valid to the end of this year. And really is for us to try and explore either for ourselves or for somebody that we know. All right, I think that is it there for us. Thank you again. And we look forward to seeing you all. And I can't wait to share this with you all. Thank you so much. Take care.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks so much, everyone.